And welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-a-Mash, coming at you for the fresh year of 2023. From the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we've got coronal holes, we've got sunspots, we've got solar flares, we've got coronal mass ejections to cover as well. Are they earthly directed? We'll let you know a little bit later in the video. We'll show some analysis despite some missing data. Also some massive filaments to name on Twitter. So make sure you follow us over there if you're not already doing so. Name that filament. That filament needs a name. And we'll be naming it after a living human sometime today. Yes. Let's take a look at the Northwestern Limb also. That is a spectacular filament up there. There's your Northwestern Limb. There was an M-class flare today on January 2nd. And Happy New Year to all of our viewers. There's your Southwestern Limb. Some interesting filaments down there. Southwest of that well-defined coronal hole. Here is the Southeast Limb while we're at it. And by the way, if you want to help out the channel with some merch, make sure you check out the links below the video. You'll find in the description links to our Redbubble shop and lots more like our homepage. So you can find links there as well at smashomash.com. So there is our Redbubble shop. The products here are in order of best selling. So today's featured product is, don't worry, it's not the face of evil Fauci fraudster bath mat. It's forgive, remember, and hold accountable. Perhaps one of these goals ought to be your New Year resolution. Is your New Year resolution to forgive or perhaps hold accountable? Or what about remember what happened the past 3 years? That might be beneficial. By the way, there's a new piece of merch coming out probably today based on a user request. One of our viewers requested a piece of merch, so we'll be hitting it up. In the meantime, don't forget to forgive, remember, and hold accountable, because forgive and forget is so 2018. If you support the content, you'd like to become a member of the Smash Team, perhaps smashomash.com/Smash Team is the official subscription services site. We still are on Patreon as well. We still do have PayPal, and we're all over social media. So make sure you hit us up on the various different locations. Help us out with clicks. Maybe help yourself out with a ShoreMed membership. Have you got gaps in your insurance coverage? Well, ShoreMed's not even insurance. It's just an association membership. And so check that out. If you haven't done so, all those links there, again, on the homepage as well as below this video. Click post to see our latest content, especially if your highly censored YouTube feed is not covering it. Next, let's pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. The next thing we're covering here is volcanoes, as we're interested in what's erupting. So let's check out the list here. It starts out with Abico. I think that's an uptick there at Mount Abico. It's producing a 12,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Please do not pole vault the caldera. Sakurajima, 9,000-foot ash plume. Some information about Popocatépetl's activities around New Year's Eve and early New Year's Day. It's producing a 20,000-foot ash plume over central Mexico. Flight level 200 from Popocatépetl. Next, Fuego in Guatemala exploding, flight level 160, flight level 150 from Revenador in Ecuador, and an intermittent puff at Peru is a reminder to not pole vault that caldera either. Take a look at earthquakes. Interestingly enough, the largest quake of the past 24 occurred, well, there was one in Japan, and there was also one in California. Both 5.4 magnitudes. The Japanese one happened first. That was at 1824 Universal Time. California one was at 1835, so only 11 minutes later between those two 5.4 magnitude quakes on the opposite side of the Pacific. So let's scroll up the list here. We'll cite anything else that looks relevant, like that 5.3 at Fiji at nearly 600 kilometers estimated depth. Again, that 5.4 came in at Japan at 1824 Universal Time yesterday. The 5.4 came in at California at 1835 Universal Time. Not often that we can report the largest quake of the past 24 being tied for a quake in the U.S. So Japan and the U.S. there seeing the largest quakes. Not real big, though, only 5.4 magnitude. There's also a 5.3 at the Azores and a 5.1 at Indonesia. That came in as we did show prep today. And let's get back to space, as we don't want to be too late. Here we've added 131 angstroms to the 304 to show some additional detail of that M-class solar flare. Now, the 10.7 centimeter radio flux has dropped since we last did a video, because we took another day off. Yeah, we took off Christmas and New Year this year. Oh my God. That's like 5 days off in about 6 years, by the way. There's the last 24 hours in ionized helium. I think we've got another composite here as well. There's the one that we went around the horn with. That's 193 plus 171. And let's blast through a lot more data, as there's plenty of stuff to cover. 10.7 centimeter radio flux now at 153 solar flux units. There is the 1 year graph to put that in context from solon.info. There's the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. They are forecasting a CME impact midday on the 4th. I'm expecting one by midday tomorrow. So, I don't know. Maybe I thought it was moving faster than NOAA did. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm expecting one earlier than that. Maybe they forecasted one that I didn't see, and I forecasted one they didn't see. But that's the NOAA forecast. My forecast is for an impact mid to late day tomorrow. Mid to late day tomorrow. We'll see what happens if there's another one on the 4th as well. Let's check the planetary K index. It's currently at 1.33. So very geomagnetically calm conditions here. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. So that is the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. It's showing about 12 Earth diameters here. And things have been here mostly steady over the past 4 hours there. We'll also look at Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. That's our ground magnetic perturbations map for the past 4 hours. And it looks like everything is intact there in terms of the data all being available. That's always good. And let's move on to some more information here, like the real-time solar wind. So here's your real-time solar wind, and we've got still a somewhat elevated solar wind speed here at about 480 kilometers per second. Solar wind density there showing up as about 7 protons per cubic centimeter, at least as measured by the Discover. You can see this blue line down here at the bottom. That is the switch over from the ACE to the Discover. The green line is the Discover. The blue line is the Discover. The green line is the ACE. So those are two different spacecraft located at Lagrangian point 1. Otherwise, pretty uneventful there. Next, we'll look at magnetic data, as it has massive predictive value depending on which magnetic data you're looking at. The GOES magnetometers there they are over the past 3 days, seeing higher lows in the past 24 hours. We'll also look at the heliospheric current sheet. Earth is in a south pole current sheet, and it's looking pretty solid here now. So the likelihood of large sunspots in the southern hemisphere rising has now gone down based on that Gong 2 data. If you're wondering where it comes from, it's from 51 ground-based magnetometers on stereo B and on stereo A. Here's our solar line of sight field plot. Solar B field in blue, north solar polar field in green, south in red, which moves us to coronal holes. What evil lurks in the depths of coronal holes? High-speed solar protons. They're not really evil. It's almost like a cosmic ray source. You could make the argument that coronal holes are cosmic ray sources. All right, in any case, let's take a look at the SDO here. We've got a mixed bag. We've got a mixed bag. So we've got a North Pole oriented coronal hole down here, south up here, and a south right down here at the south solar polar region. So that's interesting indeed. Let's take a look at what it looks like from SDO. So this well-defined one here, this is South Pole oriented. These up here are also South Pole oriented, so that's south. This is all south. This is south. But there's one like right here that's north. Okay. Again, here's the, we'll reanimate that. A little bit of North Pole magnetism down here. Not very well defined. There's a bunch of bumpy corona in the way. Anyway, let's move on to sunspots. Yes, sunspots. But first, if you've got a hole in your coverage, perhaps pick up a ShoreMed membership and get all sorts of discounts. Do you have out-of-pocket costs at the pharmacy? Reduce them with a ShoreMed membership. Are you sick of going to a physical doctor because that's so 2019? Well, you get doctors by phone, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians, and discounts on all sorts of other things. Also access to group insurance only available to ShoreMed members, otherwise known as the American Better Health Organization. Check it out. Make me your agent of record. I am a licensed Medicare insurance agent in 28 states. And I realized back in the mid-1990s that I needed to do a deep dive into heliophysics because of the implications on cosmology. That's the main reason for the channel. It's not because of all of the nonsense on YouTube. The nonsense on YouTube just lights a fire under our ass to continue putting out content and stating facts about things like cosmology and space weather, since there is so much fraud and propaganda on internet about it. So if you haven't checked out the 12 Days of Smashmas, we do run a record label as well. It's called Golden Cat Productions. You can find us all over the internet there. iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, etc. Golden Cat Productions. Also, you can check our playlists for all kinds of interesting videos about cosmology. Do One Thing, SmashOmash.org presents The Sun, Terms Defined, The Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash, and lots more in our playlists. Thanks to our YouTube subscribers for tolerating the pathetic, disgusting, and putrid censorship and misleading of investors by Alphabet. We appreciate your viewership. Press like, subscribe, share, etc. You can also find links to our Hemp Lucid shop below the video. That link is also on the homepage at SmashOmash.com. And once again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and congratulations on realizing the channel exists. It's time to move to sunspots. We do have a new sunspot group down here in the southeastern limb. It's Sunspot 3181. And let's take a look at some animated videos from SDO. So here's your SDO magnetogram. And let's switch to the SDO continuum. So that's the last 24 hours there. And things look like they're staying mostly stable here. Not a lot of major changes happening in any of those sunspot groups. Here we've added 171 angstroms for a little bit of additional character. And there's the full disk view in those wavelengths. That's SDO continuum plus 171 angstroms. And let's move on to energetic particles and solar flares. So despite additional M-class flares, we've got no spikes in the proton flux. So a long time since we've had a proton event. The GOES 16 there showing up with a bubkus, a heap and help and a nothing. I think that was an M-class flare. Let's check the 6 hour. That was a C9.39 class flare. All right, I stand corrected. That was not an M-class flare. Anyway, there's the 3-day graph from the GOES 16 and GOES 17's X-ray detectors. X-rays, they have to be detected in space because the mesosphere of Earth's atmosphere filters those out. So here is some ultraviolet wavelengths. That's 131 angstroms. One of the best to view flares. And let's zoom way in on where that high-level C-class flare occurred. Sunspot group 3176, I believe that one is. We've also got it in 94 angstroms. As we bring you the most detailed imagery of the closest star and comprehensive space weather in the known universe. And how about a full disk view in 94 angstroms as well? We've got it covered. We put it up on YouTube so you don't have to go access the data yourself. That's why we have like 80 tabs open right now. And let's move on to what's going on overhead. So we always encourage our viewers to know about what's going on overhead. And no, it's not chemtrails. However, it is still kind of dark here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. So that's what's going on. The sun has not risen. We've got no planets and no moon in the sky at the moment. Here's your solar system forecast. How about the 1 week forecast? From the Smash News Network least busted name in news. Here's where things are now. Here's where things will be on a week. On January 9th. Next, we would show you some coronagraphs here from George Mason, but they ain't there. People are on vacay. So let's switch to the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center to show Stereo A, at least what's there, and the Soho Lasco C3. So we've paused this here at 23:18 yesterday evening because we do see a CME here. And if you're wondering if it's earthly directed, we are too. Our best guess is that it is not. It is on the far side of the sun, I believe, and no help from Stereo A there. As, well, we don't really see anything on the earthly side. So the best guess is that that is not an earthly directed CME. So let's let that play through. We'll back that up a little bit. So some missing data there from Stereo A, not very helpful. So that's CME there. It's coming out to the east. I suspect it's not only off to the east, but on the opposite side of the sun somewhat as well, because we didn't really see any ejecta on the Earth side. As far as I can tell, my best guess is that is not an additional earthly directed CME. So here's some additional imagery of that. That is the last 24 hours. I don't think that secondary one is earthly directed either, as it is not accompanied by a halo. Here's a slightly further zoomed out series of images. Which brings us to our bonus features segment. Oh, we're almost at our bonus features segment. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, so the name that filament is this crown prominence up here in the North Solar Polar region. It's quite spectacular. And so I charge you, the viewer, to name that filament join us on Twitter to do so. Feel free to mark up the image, by the way. And that's okay. We'll just wait for your thing to come up. Name that filament on the barely functional junkware platform known as Twitter that people think Elon Musk has fixed, even though he's publicly stated that the deboosting features, aka shadow bans, are still in effect. Twitter.com/Smashomash, the official Twitter account, where we can't get followers because we are shadow banned on the platform, where Twitter, like Google, Apple, and Facebook, a big tech organization that misleads its investors, users, vendors, value chain partners, advertisers, and more. Next, the last couple of hours from the Go 16 SUVi. And how about the last 24 hours from SDO? One of our favorite composite wavelengths there, that's 335 plus 171 angstroms. It creates a lot of depth in the solar corona. Here come bonus features. First, satellite charging hazards. We've got some internal charging hazards here caused by high energy electrons building up inside of satellites, currently over the Indian Ocean and portions of the northern part of Australia. Some minor internal charging hazards there for satellites. Electron flux here in warning levels for the Go 16, that's the blue line, and toying with warning levels there with the Go 17. There is the forecast. I think tomorrow it's going to be a little bit lower than this, but it should be close. We are expecting a coronal mass ejection impact midday tomorrow on January 3rd. There is the one-year chart of the relativistic electrons as reported by Solon.info. You can see we're just kind of in the operating range here. We'll take a look at the F-layer of the ionosphere as we do daily on the channel. I guess we're the only channel on YouTube that actually covers this. The movement of the South Atlantic anomaly. You would think it would be big news in the realm of space weather, and I've heard exactly 0 other entities even mention it. I tagged Tamitha Skov in a post about it. She did not respond. Also, I don't hear alarmist YouTube channels that quote cover end quote space weather talking about it either. So, whatever. We've been covering it for a few weeks. And if you've got theories as to how Earth's geomagnetic field is generated, let us know in the comments. So anyway, the South Atlantic anomaly is now the South Pacific anomaly. It's now down here by my pointer instead of over the South American continent where it was just a few weeks ago. Now it's way over here like 1,500 miles away. So if you think that's odd, we certainly do as well. But in any case, that's what's going on. That is anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. We show the F-layer. That is where the Go 16 and Go 17 make their electron flux measurements. There's the vibrational frequency at 11:45 universal time, and there is the anomalogram. That's anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median at the same time of day. We would show you high-res images of the sun later in the video, but we're not doing it because the SDO site is busted. Next, the total electron content forecast. It would be the free electrons from about 11,500 miles of altitude, 11,500 miles of altitude, down to your GPS handset. Total electron content. There's the current map from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. Highest electron content is currently over the southern portion of Africa. Here's the animated map. And we've got large GPS errors continuing here over North America. We'll let it play through a second time, and then we will move on to the realm of meteorology. So those are the most likely places to see GPS errors. Those are caused by signal refraction by free electrons in the signal pathway. And it's time to chew bubblegum and do meteorology. And we're all out of bubblegum. So the first thing we're going to check out here is currents. Yes, currents. So there are our ocean currents. We're showing the Gulf Stream here, which is, by the way, still heating up places like Iceland and Ireland, as you can see there. The Gulf Stream, folks, it's not shutting down. It's still intact. And check it out. There's actually some water here flowing around the tip of Greenland back up to the northwest. I don't remember covering that before. But there is certainly water going back toward the Beaufort Gyre. So in any case, that's what's going on in terms of currents. Check it out. The strongest currents in the world here are... Wow, those are definitely some strong currents there. Yowzers. Amazon Delta, anybody? All right. Anyway, strong currents there around Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, etc. All right, let's switch to winds here as we're doing meteorology. These are the jet streams of the eastern world, blowing a bit backwards there over places like the Philippines, Papua New Guinea. Here are the surface winds of the east. Pretty windy over there in the eastern world. Here are the surface winds of the west. Jet streams of the west. Jet streams of the central world. And surface winds, depicted here. So that's what's going on a global scale. Again, don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Help us out with links. That is, clicks to our links. Help us out with clicks. If you are unable and or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet and become a member of the Smash team, we haven't forgotten about the credit crawl. It is coming back. You can find links on the homepage and below the video in the description to the Smash team page. We are still in the process of composing a publication to plausibly explain the solar sunspot cycles. It's kind of a big deal. And if it passes peer review, it'll be the most important paper in like 200 years. And here's what is going on in terms of clouds and fog over the Western world. So that is our 3.9 nanometer radiation map as satellites circle the croissant-shaped Earth, and then NASA projects it onto a spherical Photoshop image to convince people that Earth is spherical and not shaped like a croissant. Next, our weather.gov map. If your county's lit, click your county. Croissant Earth. Deal with the facts. Deal with the facts, folks. Earth is shaped like a croissant. Anyway, there's the key. It's very foggy over the southeastern U.S., it looks like. Also a bunch of flood warnings there in places like East Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, and Illinois. Lots of winter weather warnings there. Winter storm warnings over most of Nebraska. Hard freezes, etc. Again, if your county's lit, click your county. It's weather.gov. Let's do some forecasts. Here is your GFS forecast for the next 72 hours. That's your accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. Heaviest snow there expected for South Dakota and Nebraska. Also, California going to see an additional pushing 2 feet of snow there in select areas. We'll also show the pressure and precipitation forecast. We've got some ice showing up there and some heavy moisture there. Most of California is about to get inundated. Heavy moisture there rolling in from the Pacific. You can expect some significant rain totals. Also some ice in the forecast. Please do not drive in freezing rain. I don't want to feature you on our pro driving and riding tips to say, hey, if you don't have carbide studded tires, don't drive in the ice. And let's continue on to our windy.com map. We're going to show the European forecast for snowfall for the next 3 days as well. We're showing it in terms of snow depth. This is where we expect snow depth to be in about 72 hours. In the European forecast here, expecting the California snow totals to be at over 82 inches. Over 92 inches there around Mammoth. Dag. That is the European snow forecast from windy.com. They've got a great mobile app. Check it out, perhaps, if you haven't already installed it on your junkware device. On your, quote, smart, end quote, phone. Yeah, your, quote, smart, end quote, phone. It features 20-year outdated data designed to spy on you. Software that is utterly outdated, provided by zombie corporations moving forward on inertia. And that's ancient data from lightning, from the NASA GOES lightning mapper also. So let's switch to a real lightning map. Lightningmaps.org. It is not only real, it's also real time. Check it out. There's some Saudi lightning happening. Oh my God. Is it directed energy weapons? Oh, noes. I'm spooked. Are you spooked by directed energy weapons, folks? I'm spooked. I am spooked right now. Oh my God, I'm so spooked. The Eastern Mediterranean seeing a little bit of lightning as well. Looks like things are pretty calm as far as lightning strikes at the moment. Next, let's switch to the U.S. Doppler radar map. Let me press refresh because it looks highly unanimated. That's radar.weather.gov. We're going to focus on the lower 48 and close this mother out. So that's the current Doppler. Here is shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. Here is water vapor. And here's your recap. Hey there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-a-Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Happy New Year, and may that solar wind be at your back.